We got comic books and comics news, comics insights and reviews, comics girls and comics dudes, sipping on some freshly brewed. 'Cause it's comics and coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way. Comics and coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Comics and Coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way. I am Bobby Shortle, and I'm here with Mara Wood.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mara. So it's Thursday. It's on our usual day.
I know, it's a little strange.
I know, but we're here. We're doing it. I didn't think I could do it tomorrow, so instead of canceling again, I figured we'd just try to do it another day. And thankfully, for once, Mara is not super crazy busy.
Yeah, I have nothing to do. It's so weird.
So we actually get to sit down another day and do this. Mara was actually just on the Talking Comics podcast, where we talked about a bunch of news, and not really much has happened since that day. So
other than E3, there really isn't anything going on.
Exactly, and so I've been super into watching all that stuff as well. So it's been really tough to find anything comic book related since we did Tuesday night, when we recorded that podcast till today, that we were excited about talking about.
Yeah, but did you watch the Nintendo show?
Oh, you bet your ass I did.
I am so excited about everything. Like I'm gonna buy that stupid Captain Toad treasure tractor.
Yeah. Did you play Super Mario 3D World?
On the 3DS?
No, on the Wii U.
No. The 3D World I've got on the 3DS, and I've played a couple levels on that one, but I never finished it.
Gotcha.
That's my MO with video games. Is I get really excited, I buy them all, and I play about like a couple hours of them, and then I move on to the next one without finishing. Like, I do finish some games. Like I finished Zelda, and I finish I try to finish Pokemon. There's really no end in sight for that. But the last major one I finished was Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS, and that game was badass. But yeah, I plan on buying all of those Wii U games and never finishing them.
Yeah, I am like really excited about a lot of those games, and the reason I'm excited about the Toad thing is because it was a feature of Super Mario 3D World. It was they're like side levels. The Toad thing, and I really loved them in that game. I loved how they changed things up because he can't jump. So it's all about playing perspective and turning the world and figuring out a way to get up these levels and defeat these enemies without the normal kind of Mario tools.
Yeah.
So I had so much fun playing that section of the game. The fact they're doing a whole game based on it, it's so exciting to me. I'm so pumped for it.
Yeah. And the Yarn Yoshi game.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games when I was younger / still this age is Yoshi's Story on N64, where you have like the adorable Yoshis and they go through and they eat the fruit. And this game reminds me of it so much. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looks beautiful too. It looks. There's a bunch of stuff that they're coming out with that I think they had a really good event, a really good press conference, if you will. I always, the thing is like I love all the other companies, and I always own all the systems. But every single year I always look at Nintendo to do that thing that's gonna wow me. Because this is who you grew up with, so it becomes the thing you always look to. And they showed a little bit of the new Zelda, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and saying it's open world, you can go wherever you want, and all this other stuff, which is crazy. They even unveiled like what their version of a shooter would be, which is of course adorable and wonderful.
And I'm probably gonna love it.
Yeah. The Kirby game looks very cool. They announced they're bringing Star Fox back. So all very cool stuff. The one thing I was disappointed, there's no Metroid announcement. And Metroid is like my favorite thing in the world, video game wise. So I really wanted it, but you can't always get what you want.
Yeah, there's always next year.
Yeah, as Mick Jagger would like to say. So yeah, no, so that's what I've been really checking out and watching videos about with all those press conferences, looking at the new Assassin's Creed game, the new Far Cry game, all this stuff has looked really, really awesome, and games coming out in the next couple of years look awesome. I mean, to bring it a little comic book focused, at least, they showed off some more footage from the new Batman game, Batman Arkham Knight, and it looks fantastic. I mean, the shot they showed of him, jumping off the building and flying down and flying across the city, getting in the Batmobile, ramming into things with the Batmobile, and then launching out of the Batmobile and flying up into a building all seamlessly was pretty amazing. It's cool that Rocksteady, the guys who made obviously the first two of those Batman games, are back and doing one final time. They showed a little bit of Scarecrow, who's the main villain of the.
That was so creepy.
Really creepy, skin falling off his face and all that stuff. Really creepy. I hope that they stick to that it is Scarecrow, that they don't go back and rely on but the Joker, kind of stuff, because as great as the Joker is, it's been every single one of the games now has featured the Joker as the main villain, and there's so much stuff to do in the Batman universe that I hope they don't fall back. Because one of my biggest criticism of Arkham Origins, I mean, there were some problems with it, obviously made by a different studio, and some of the combat I felt was a little bit off. But my biggest criticism was they seemed like they were going for something different, doing all these lesser-known villains, Deathstroke and Firefly and all these people, only to fall back on the Joker being the main villain of the story. And that was disappointing, because we've seen that so many other times before. So I hope that Rocksteady goes, with it. I mean, Mara, did you play the previous Batman games?
I didn't, but I watched my husband play most of them, most of each game, and they are amazing. And I have never. I mean, they definitely got the tone of Batman right in those games, and just how much it wraps him up in it, I can tell that they've got something good going on. They've hired some good psychologists to work on addiction in that game.
So we'll see what goes on from here. I mean, it seems like they're introducing a new character, that Arkham Knight is a new kind of antagonist for Batman. So we'll have to see how they tie that in, if it's a completely new character or it's a reimagining of an old character. They've always been the only thing about their games has always been a little bit not 100% for me, is how they design some of the characters. Their Harley Quinn is kind of the more, slutty Harley Quinn, I guess is the word that you put it. Personality-wise, they tend to nail it pretty well with her. It just is the look of her is not great, and also some of the other looks are not 100%. But the gameplay is just so good that it doesn't really matter. So I've been consumed with the E3 stuff, consumed with it, because it's been everywhere, and obviously huge video game fan. And if you guys at noon today, the most recent Talking Games podcast will be up, and although I'm not on it, they covered every game that has been announced. So make sure and check that out. That will be up at noon today on TalkingComicBooks.com. I also want to shout out to Adam Blotner, who is the guy behind our theme song, which you heard at the top of the show. It's really, really awesome. I'll put links to his stuff in the show notes, so you guys can check that out and hear more of his stuff. He's a really talented guy, and really, really appreciate him taking the time to write our awesome, awesome theme song. So on the comic book stuff, one thing I was looking at today that caught my eye. So Scotty Young had been talking about in a few of the weeks leading up to now how big the pre-orders were on Rocket Raccoon, his book, obviously based on the soon-to-be hugely popular character that's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. Already the breakout character of that, of that movie.
Based on merchandise, yes.
Yeah, based on merchandise alone. We saw at New York Comic Con last year of the plushie they released go in 2 seconds. So he's going to be a huge character, but I don't think we really anticipated how huge. And Scotty Young was tweeting that there was over 300,000 pre-orders for Rocket Raccoon, and I think we kind of wondered how that was, because that seems like a very high number. An extremely high number. I mean, that's like Walking Dead level numbers. For like their anniversary issues and stuff like that.
You don't get that for a new comic.
No, especially one about a single character who has not been. I mean, you can imagine it happening for the return of a character or something, but Rocket Raccoon #1 does not seem like at this point would be that that thing. But today on CBR I read a story that, and I'll just read the story to you guys out loud here. CBR News has confirmed that of the 300,000 reported initial orders for Marvel's upcoming Rocket Raccoon #1, roughly 100,000 were from one retailer, Loot Crate, a subscription-based service offering a box of assorted genre and video game-related merchandise delivered monthly to customers' homes. The biggest revelation of this to me was that I didn't know what the hell Loot Crate was at all. Do you know what it is, Mara?
I do. I remember when they were first talking about, because right now the big thing is subscription boxes where you pay $10 a month and you get something random shipped to your home. There's Birchbox for makeup. There's NatureBox for snacks and stuff. There's BarkBox for dog toys. Just basically a way to sample a wide variety of items. And you can go back and buy more if you want, but it's kind of like that surprise, you get a new gift, but you bought it yourself. And Loot Crate is the same kind of subscription service where you pay ahead of time and you get shipped just a box of random stuff. I think one of my friends had it and she got like some stickers and keychains and a t-shirt and stuff like that. So they really try to, make it fun and mix it up, and that's what keeps people interested in the products, and that's how they make their money and things like that. The fact that they ordered 100,000 and they're shipping this comic book out to all these people who may or may not have never read a comic book, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a cool service, right? It sounds like a fun way. It's almost like Christmas every month, since you don't know what you're getting. It's not like subscribing to something where you get a set group of things that you picked out every month. It actually has an element of surprise, which I think is pretty cool. I think it's interesting, right, that they ordered over 100,000 of them. Look, that still means that Rocket Raccoon has 200,000 pre-orders from normal comic book shops, which is crazy. To give an example, Amazing Spider-Man #1 had about over 500K, but that's for Spider-Man.
And there's been like controversy surrounding Spider-Man for years now, ever since Dan Slott killed off Peter Parker. So this is a build-up to that. That's years of putting work into a character to reach those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a character like Rocket Raccoon, having that many pre-orders is a lot. Now, what it does point to me though, and what it seems to me like it could be a little bit of like a speculator, market on it, a group of people who are hoping to buy it and then sell it, to flip it because they expect it to be worth money, because it's #1 because of the movie coming out. So I assume there's probably a percentage of those orders are people like that. But I think it's also comic book shops anticipating the popularity of the character and of the movie, seeing the other merchandise move so quickly. And I think it bodes very, very well for the future of that movie. The fact that this is coming and is so strong right now. It's funny because to me, like, I think it's cool and I will read the first issue. But I don't anticipate it being a book that I end up reading probably month after month.
One thing, because I was reading an article about it, and they didn't know Loot Crate had purchased over 100,000. They were trying to figure out what was it that making this particular book so popular. And they had mentioned that at its core, I mean, it's Scotty Young, and he's made a name for himself within Marvel, from his work with the Wizard of Oz series to the baby covers. Right. And he's got a very distinctive style that people can point out pretty easily. And there's a movie coming out, and then Marvel actually started announcing and marketing it before it was in previews. They were pushing this book ever so slightly pretty early on, just so that retailers can hear a little bit more about it and customers would be interested in it. And then someone in the comments said, "Oh, Loot Crate, bought over 100,000 of them," and the author was like, "Oh, that's perfect." That's why.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too because Scotty Young has made a name for himself with those kind of baby covers. It's been mostly what he's been known for in the last few years, but I don't. The style in this book is not going to be that because that's not his usual style.
Right.
You know, that's something he's done in the last couple of years for these baby covers. But if you go back and look at work he's done in the past, even work, you know, in some of the Oz stuff or back in his X-Men days, it's not quite that. It's still very stylized, but it's not baby stuff. So
yeah, it's that cool scratchy look.
Yeah, and if you look at the cover for Rocket Raccoon or any of the preview images of Rocket Raccoon, you can totally see that it's not going to be that either. So I'm excited about that because I want to see him doing his style again. I think the baby covers are novel and cool and funny, but for me they're like, oh, I laugh at it in the store, or I see the image online and go, that's really cute. Oh, how clever is that? But I don't really care about them.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, no. I mean, at this point, if you bought all of them, you would have spent, I think, probably thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I think it would be untenable that matter. But speaking of artists, Mara, you had something you want to talk about as far as the book that came out this week.
And I actually have it with me. It's the new She-Hulk. And I've been loving this series. I think it's fun. I think it's really lighthearted. Javier Pulido's been doing the art on it recently, but they have Ron Wimberly did the art on this one, and it's off. It's different. I don't know. What are the rules about showing images from comics on a video?
You can show it.
Okay.
I mean, if people are listening to it and not watching it, they're not gonna get it out of it, but you can show it.
Yeah. It's weird. It's not. I mean, you can look at the face of Hellcat there. It's not. It's hyper stylized to the point where it's difficult for me to enjoy the story. Like after I read it, I had to go back and think like, okay, so what happened in this story and was it good? And it was just the art was so distracting. It was so off-putting to me, and that's a personal thing. You know, there could be people out there who are big fans of this style of art and things like that, but it got me thinking about times when I've been reading a comic and something about it changes, especially the art, or the art itself in the beginning was too distracting to actually enjoy the comic. In recent times, the new FF series, and I don't remember who wrote it or who did the art on it, but my husband's a big Fantastic Four fan, and the fact that he was sitting there thinking, I can't even read this comic. The art is too different, too. In his words. Are you talking about the new one that's out, the Fantastic Four book that's out right now, or the FF series that came out? I think it's Ultimate FF.
Oh, okay.
Out right now.
Ultimate FF. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And he in his mind, Fantastic Four can do no wrong. But this book, he will not. He's like, I'm not buying it anymore. I can't read this book with this art. And I remember in my younger years when I was reading Ultimate X-Men, when they switched artists, I just remember opening and go like, what fresh hell is this? What is going on? Why did they change? So I thought it was kind of interesting to see. And I mean, I'm going to buy She-Hulk again. This isn't their permanent artist.
Right.
But just how immediately like that I will turn on a comic based on the art. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I'm becoming more that way. I mean, when it took me a while when I first started reading books again to even notice the art a terrible amount because I just wasn't used to ingesting both parts of the medium that way. And I think over the last couple of years, I've definitely begun to get back into it and to look at the art more critically and know and care about the art for what it is, which is 50% of, and more than 50% sometimes, of what makes the book what it is.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. There are times where the art can really throw something off. I mean, I think in the past, with Talking Comics, we spoke about a couple of things, but there was back when it was called Avenging Spider-Man, there was an issue that dealt with, a very emotional issue that dealt with, Uncle Ben's death and Peter visiting the grave, and the issue was written beautifully, but the art was so dissonant to what was going on in the book.
Yeah.
That I couldn't I could recommend it, but I had to recommend it with a bunch of caveats.
Yeah.
Just because it was so difficult to look at the art, while reading.
And I recognize that it's hard to draw a comic that would appeal to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had to keep in mind when reading this particular issue of She-Hulk, is that, this guy's a professional. He's getting paid on one of Marvel's comic books. Marvel's a major company. There is some legitimacy to his style, but I'd be like, but it's not mine. It's not for me. I need something cleaner. I need something more focused. And this wasn't it for me. And it was just, to me, it was a little disappointing because it's one of my, my current favorite comics.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed too over the last couple of years, or the last year especially, there's books, and I spoke about this on Talking Comics, that I've actually, like the Inhuman book, which is art by Joe Madureira and written by Charles Soule. I haven't been loving the story of the book, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been enjoying the art so much that it makes me want to keep buying it.
Yeah.
And the story's not bad, it's just not fantastic to me. But the art is fantastic, and that has made me want to continue to buy the book. And you spoke about Ultimate FF before, but conversely, former FF artist Mike Allred, I will buy a book just because he's drawing it.
Yeah.
Because I want to see that stuff and experience it, and the story is almost secondary to me in that situation. I mean, there are some books where I feel like the art, the artistic style of the book and the content of the book are hand in hand. When the art suffers, the overall picture of the book suffers. I mean, obviously they're long down from the book at this point, but the J.H. Williams Batwoman book.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
When he wouldn't draw it, it would still be fine. It would still be a competently written book when he was just writing. But when I'm reading Batwoman and I'm reading a book that J.H. Williams is involvement in, I want to see that art. I want to. That's half of the storytelling, is the way he visualizes those characters. And so when he would just write it with Hayden Blackman, and there would be art by other very good artists.
Yeah.
It just would not have the same connection, because part of that storytelling is the way he designs panels and stuff. So it was just difficult to keep going with that.
I did. I sat in on a lecture on visual literacy in comic books, and one example, his name is Dr. Matthew Smith. He does communication, and he was talking about how J.H. Williams in Batman Elegy just nails it with every visual image possible. Like, most of the story is told in visuals. Like, the words are there, but most of it is conveyed. Most of the emotional part is conveyed. And that's one of the biggest appeals to comic books, is that you have that visual support, because visual images stick with us more than words do. And when you have great words but not great images, yeah. It's unappealing.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, I think that for me, writing is always going to be the thing for me. I will keep reading a book where the art isn't great if the writing is great. If the writing's just good, then that won't happen. Then I would drop the book if the art wasn't any good. But I will definitely stick with the book if I'm not loving the art, just because the writing is fantastic. And obviously, I mentioned a couple minutes ago, the opposite is also true, but less likely. It's an interesting medium, right? Because comics are interesting in general for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest ones is, like, if you're watching a TV show, right? If a show makes it to TV, generally it's going to have a consistent visual look, and it's going to at least be technically and consistently well done. I mean, there are things, obviously, you're talking about sitcoms that are shot in certain ways that maybe don't look fantastic, but still, the grouping, they hire very professional people to create their productions, and you're not gonna say, oh, 1 week, Parks and Rec looks awesome, and the next week, oh, it looks like shit. That doesn't happen in TV. And it's funny that it can happen in comics. Now, sometimes that the difference isn't it looks bad or it looks good. Like you're talking about She-Hulk. It's I like this style. I don't like this next style.
Yeah.
There are times, however, where the book doesn't look as good the week from month to month. I'm sorry, Mara, go ahead.
I was going to say there was an issue similar to this in the first volume of Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel. Because they were rotating artists, and a lot of the artists had this avant-garde style of drawing. And one of them was when Philippe Andre, I think is his name.
Philippe Andre.
When he came on, oh man, there were so many people I knew that were just like, this is awful. I can't do this. I'm like, what? It's not that bad. It's kind of cool. It's different. You don't see it in other comics.
Right.
And that was one thing that jumped out to me. But if you're looking at the New 52 Wonder Woman book, Cliff Chang started out on that book, and he defined the style. And every single person who's filled in for him has maintained that exact same style.
Right.
They draw just like him to fit that book. And there's some weeks where I don't even notice it's a different artist.
Right.
Which is
there are definitely some books like that, right, where they bring on fill-in artists to fit that can imitate the style and tone of the regular artist. Like when you saw that on FF when Joe Quinones would fill in for All Red, his style would kind of go in an all red way, so that there wasn't a jarring thing. And I appreciate that. I understand the realities of there having to be fill-in artists, because it takes longer to to draw a book than it does to write a book. So I totally understand those things. It's when they kind of go completely off style for one issue that it's really it's really difficult to kind of take as far as tone goes. I remember when they were Swamp Thing, the end of Rot World, the ultimate issue, they had a different artist, and it wasn't someone who had a similar style to Jan Paquette. It was someone who had a very cool style, but it was very much more cartoony style, and the book was so serious that it just did not feel like it fit whatsoever. So it's a difficult balance, and I think that that sometimes maybe it's just realities, maybe it's just logistics, maybe they can't find a person that fits that style directly, but I feel like unless it's a one-off issue, which is kind of outside an arc, I think trying to find someone with a similar style to your regular artist is probably the way to go.
Yeah.
Like you've noticed in like All New X-Men, it's had a bunch of different artists. Stuart Immonen is the main artist, but it
still all has that same feel.
Yeah, Bendis obviously for that book wants it to be, super like not realistic, but realistic enough. Something that's close to realism but has a style to it. Like he's had David Marquez and Stuart Immonen mainly as the two main artists on the book, and both share a similar aesthetic to the way that they do their art. He's had a couple of David LaFuentes did that one kind of very romantic issue between Scott and Jean that was very kind of Saturday morning cartoonish, which I loved. Not as a normal art style, but as far as a one-off book, it looked great. But the same thing goes on over at Uncanny X-Men. Bachalo is the main artist, and you can't really get somebody to imitate Bachalo, but he tends to get very stylistic artists to take those books. For example, like when they did the Magic stuff, kind of in the Hell Dimension stuff, they had Fraser Irving doing the art, who is a super extremely stylistic artist who does some very creepy stuff. But it worked very, very well for this kind of Hell Dimension type of storyline. So I think those times it can be really, really cool to see what artist fits for each area. Yeah. But then there are times where you just get, and Marvel does it, and DC does it too. And DC tends to do more of like we have 3 artists on this one book type of thing sometimes, and that ruins a book for me because unless these artists are able to seamlessly transition their styles, or unless you're doing like, oh, there's a flashback storyline, and then there's a day storyline, and then there's something else, then it works because then you can go, this is why it looks different. Yeah. But if it's just the same story and there are dramatic art shifts, I remember when Justin Jordan took over Superboy for a little while, and I was like, oh, I like Justin Jordan. Let me take a look at Superboy. I'll check it out. It had like 3 artists in one of the issues, and it was really, really jarring to try to stay on, those different pages.
It makes you really appreciate it when a comic book takes 3 months off to let the artist catch up so you can keep the same style. So thank you, Saga.
I still don't like it. I mean, that's the indie stuff it's fine because that stuff I feel like gets to be on its own schedule, and that's part of the benefit, right, of being an indie book. But the Marvel and DC stuff, they kind of when they delay stuff, it becomes a big issue. People really, really get on them for that kind of stuff, and I don't want to see those books delayed. I mean, you saw what happened with Forever Evil, where it was delayed a few months, and that kind of threw off the entire DC universe in a lot of ways. We got reveals of books that were tied into the ending of Forever Evil. We got, we got aftermath books of Forever Evil before the finale had come out. We had books. We had a Justice League 32 coming out before 31 or whatever because they had to try to schedule it around the release of that book. So that can get dicey as well, those delays. But in the end, I would rather see the team do what they need to do to get the book out. But it's a very fine line, I think, to draw between those two things. Yeah. So, Mara, have you read anything else this week? Are you excited about anything else?
I read the new Captain Marvel.
Okay.
And I read the new Star Wars Brian Wood comic.
All right.
And
so
I don't know if
you're still on Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is I think the first Star Wars comic book I've ever read.
Cool.
And it's 18 issues, and I've stuck with it since it first came out. And it was just one of those. I don't know if you've noticed in previews lately, but all of the Star Wars books from Dark Horse have announced that this is our last issue. This is the final issue. So it looks like Star Wars will be moving to Marvel pretty soon.
So it's going to move.
It's got to move. I mean, there's no way that Disney will let Star Wars comics be published by a company other than the one that they own that does comics.
Oh, no, I don't mean that. I mean, you think he's actually going to continue writing this Star Wars series?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like I read or heard something that it'll be his last, like once he's done with the Dark Horse Star Wars arc, it'll be over. But I'm like, we're nowhere near the end. What is going on? But I'd be interested in seeing what they do with Star Wars comics in the future, now that they're on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I hear that they're all pretty good. They all have ridiculous titles, but I hear that the other ones are all pretty good books. So hopefully Marvel will be able to continue kind of that run. I'll be interested to see how they handle that property and how they make it. I mean, they've already kind of started doing books from other universes, the Disney books that they've been putting out. I think Figment #1 came out this week with art by Felipe Andrade, who we mentioned earlier. Yeah. So we'll have to see how those books continue. I wonder how they're going to, if they're going to pull from their stable of writers, if they're going to bring in other writers to work on it. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to do?
Who knows?
I don't even have my books from this week yet, Mara. I don't even have them yet. So I haven't read anything yet, but I am excited to check out Captain Marvel, and I'm going to read Figment. I think it's a cool idea. I think so. We got some all new X-Men that came out this week as well, so I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, I read that one earlier, and time travel screws everything up.
I have been really, really enjoying that book. There's been a couple dips for me, a couple issue dips sometimes where I wasn't bonkers crazy about it, but I feel like over the last few months, especially, it's been really, really good. Not terribly looking forward to the last will and testament of Charles Xavier or whatever the next storyline is called, but because I'm okay with not having big crossover things happening right now. But I have been really enjoying the book, so I'm excited to keep going with that.
Fair enough.
Any big plans for the weekend, Mara?
I've been watching Ranma 1/2 like on constant loop in my house, so probably gonna finish up that.
So no.
No, I'm gonna play D&D on Friday.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a skill challenge, try to figure out who's trying to assassinate the group, and
Is this an ongoing game for you guys, or is this a new game you're starting?
I do an all-girls D&D group, and the one that we're doing right now is actually based off of Rat Queens.
Mara froze on me on this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you
Oh, I
froze.
can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, you were gone for a second. So, is it? I didn't hear it. Is it an ongoing game or no?
It's kind of a shorter, probably 6 or 7 sessions, but it's based on Rat Queens. So I
Oh,
took the
wow.
Rat Queens comic book and
Coolio.
gave them the same situations to go through.
Nice.
So it's pretty interesting. It's a little frustrating when they don't follow the plot line of the comic, and I have to come up with other stuff. But trying
So
to.
you're the dungeon master.
Mhm.
Nice.
So I'm
Very
in
cool.
charge.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. So yeah, I've always been wanting to. I've never really played Dungeons and Dragons before.
I can't recommend it enough.
And I have a group of people who I think would be awesome to play with. We just have to
Yeah.
like sit down and do it.
Contrary to
awesome.
popular belief, it is like the most social game you will ever play.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like people always think of D&D players as like antisocial, live in your basement kind of stuff. But to play D&D, you have to go to a table with like 4 or 5 other people and interact and play together. It's a really cool way. I'd love to do some sort of therapy with it, like incorporating like social skills and things like that, and that kind of role-playing game situation. But that's another project for another day. We're not gonna start that now. But yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. I would really love to play and check it out. I mean, it's something that I have been thinking about for a while now.
Yeah.
We should do a whole show on how to get into it, because I think it's daunting for people who are thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
But that will be for another day.
Yeah, it's timely because the next edition of D&D is coming out July. I think the first book of the new rules set comes out in July.
All right, cool. So we'll have to have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter at @TalkingComics or Facebook.com/TalkingComics. I'm at Bobby Shortle on Twitter. Mara.
At Mega Maraman.
Make sure to check out Adam Blotner, who wrote our amazing theme song. Thank you again so much to him for that. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you guys for starting your day out the nerdy way with us. We will see you next week.
See ya.